Thank you, Conference, for that welcome. And it's a privilege and an honour to stand here today and address you as leader of the Scottish Labour Party. And I want to start by thanking Ian Murray, our fantastic Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland. Ian may be one man at Westminster, but he is showing what one man can achieve against both the Tories and the SNP. And friends, let me also pay tribute to our new UK leader. Jeremy Corbyn is a man of principle and conviction, and I will be working side by side with him to change our party. I didn't grow up wanting to be a politician. I joined the Labour Party 11 years ago when I was 23 years old. I am the daughter of two teachers, and it's that passion for education that has driven me more than anything else. And when we had a devastating election defeat in 2011, I was surprised as anyone to be elected to the Scottish Parliament. Part of an intake where we had lost some of our best people. And again, this year, we are trying to move on from an awful outcome, not just in Scotland, but across the whole of the United Kingdom. Because as Ian said, we can't ever forget that the purpose of this party is to govern. And every day out of power is a day lost in the fight against poverty, injustice and inequality. Conference, I've watched many speeches from former Scottish leaders at this conference. And since 2007, they've followed a pattern. They've spoken passionately and forcefully about the problems Scotland faces. They've told people what our values are and what they mean for today. And they've pledged to listen to the Scottish people. I'm not here today to make another pledge just to listen to people. I'm here to say we get the message and we're going to do something about it. In the past, we needed to listen, but we also needed to act. And we got that balance wrong. We heard the message the Scottish people were giving us. And in the past few years, we have heard it repeatedly, but we didn't do enough to change it. That doesn't mean changing our values, what we stand for, or who we stand with, but making it clear in the way that we behave, in the policies that we adopt, and the path that we decide to go down. So, Conference, this year, you're not going to hear a pledge from me to listen more closely. You're going to hear a pledge to act. That's why I've said to people, take another look at the Scottish Labour Party. I'm not going to be so presumptive as to ask people for their votes today, but I want them to hear what we've got to say. And when they do, I want them to see a Scottish Labour Party that isn't just promising to change, but has actually changed the way that we do business. That's why we have thrown open our conference next month to our members, putting them in the driving seat for our conference. It's why I'm looking across Scotland for the best candidates to take us into the Scottish elections just over 7 months from now. Because we need to show that there is new, fresh talent in our party and from all walks of life. And that is why I've been absolutely clear about where we stand and who we stand with. Because in the past, too many people have told me that they don't know what we stand for. In Conference, we're showing some signs of progress. We now have more members and supporters in Scotland than at any time since Tony Blair was leader. And more people are starting to question the record of the SNP Scottish Government and are coming to the conclusion that our public services are not what they should be. Scotland needs a strong Labour Party and a strong opposition to the SNP government. Because for 8 years, the SNP government have had the chance to change our schools, to change our hospitals, and to change our country for the better. But the truth is, they haven't. The gap between the richest and the rest in our schools has grown, with children from the most deprived backgrounds less likely to succeed than their well-off classmates. And if they do manage to get the grades they need to go to university, they face the lowest levels of student support anywhere in the United Kingdom. For those who don't, our college budgets have been cut, with fewer and fewer people getting the chance to continue their education, meaning there's a whole generation of young working class people deprived of the opportunities that they deserve. And in our NHS, we have hospitals creaking at the seams. Last winter, accident and emergency departments were barely able to cope. Day after day, newspapers reported the elderly and the frail waiting hours to be treated. Queues, 6 or 7 deep at admission desks in Glasgow's newest hospital. And in the height of summer, the Health Secretary was looking for praise for hitting a target one week, but hiding from public view the next. Conference, after 8 years of SNP government, Scots don't have the public services they need or deserve. Devolution was meant to deliver better-run schools and hospitals, with power closer to the people affected. But instead, we have a government in Edinburgh whose priority is campaigning for another referendum and not governing for a better Scotland. So I have a message for people across Scotland, people who want the best for their families and best for their communities, people who care about their schools the kids go to and the hospitals that their families rely on. I will be the champion of better hospitals and world-beating schools, where every child gets the best possible start in life. I will always question those in power when the gap between the richest and the rest doesn't decrease. And I will hold a mirror up to the government in Scotland and keep on asking, surely this is not the best that we can be. Conference, Scotland is a small country full of potential. Our history is one of great achievements, of challenging and exceeding expectations, often against the odds, and of sending our ideas out and changing the world. It's no surprise that we are ambitious. But we can't keep looking over our shoulder for our greatest achievements. I want to believe that our best days are ahead of us and not behind. I want to believe that a boy from Greenock could create a machine that could change the world, like James Watt. That a boy or a girl in Fife could go to their local school, end up at university, and come up with an idea that could shape the way we think for generations, just like Adam Smith. Or that a single mother, living on benefits, could create a work of fiction, loved around the world, and become a billionaire, just like J.K. Rowling. We need to be proud of our past, but I hold no truck with the nostalgia of nationalism. Our past should be the level for us to exceed, not the limit of our expectations. And that is what I came into politics for, and it's why I joined the Labour Party. Because I saw that this is the best vehicle for progressive change that this country offers. And there has been no more important time for progressive politics than now. In Scotland, we have a government, as I said, that is presiding over failing standards in our schools and our hospitals. A government who have governing as a second priority, opting instead to carry on an argument the vast majority of Scots don't want to have all over again. And this has consequences. It means difficult decisions delayed, progressive choices dismissed, and tragically, a lack of political will to use the powers that we have in the Scottish Parliament. And we have a strengthened Tory party with a majority, not just pushing through policies that hit the poorest, but damaging the prospects of the vast majority. People who get up, go out and do the right thing, punished with lower incomes by a government intent on dismantling as much of what the last government put in place. From tax credits and trade union rights to the Human Rights Act and the welfare state, the Tories seem intent on demolishing all the parts of Labour's legacy that don't require a bulldozer. In Conference, you don't have to look much further than the major issues of the day to see that David Cameron will rest at nothing for a quick boost in the polls. After the referendum, he marched into Downing Street and announced English votes for English laws, rewriting our constitution for political gain while votes were still being counted in the referendum, and then placating his own supporters by pushing ahead with a referendum on the European Union that he doesn't believe in and a negotiation he doesn't know he can win. Conference, it's a dangerous politics from a Prime Minister who can't see further than his party And just as we said no to taking Scotland out of the UK Union because it would be bad for working people, we will say yes to keeping the jobs and prosperity that being part of the EU brings. Because mark my words, in Scotland, the Labour Party will fight as hard to keep us in Europe as we did to keep us in the United Kingdom. Because as someone once said, it's best not to act like a petulant schoolchild threatening to leave if you don't get your way. And because we have, and always will, stand for unity and solidarity against those who would seek to break us apart. Conference, the Labour Party in Scotland and across the UK is at the start of a process of renewal. Under my leadership, the Scottish Labour Party will not just talk about change. We are changing. By reorganising our front bench team so they reflect our values and don't just shadow the government, opening up our conference so that members take control, and finding new talented people from all backgrounds to become members of the Scottish Parliament. In just 7 months, we will go to the country with a renewed team, policies for a fairer country, and a vision for a modern Scotland that will set us apart from the SNP. The days of listening and not acting are over. I will change my party so that once again, together, we can change our country. Thank you.